Welcome to Cyan Orange Academy, where you will learn with us about digital and traditional art. In this particular video, we will give you a little introduction on how you can start with digital art. For that, you will have to understand the difference between digital and traditional art. Now let's get started comparing the differences between these two mediums. Digital art colors consist only of light waves, while in traditional art, color comes from pigments extracted from nature. So what does this mean? Light has a bigger spectrum of colors and tones, while pigments found in oils or watercolors can be more restricted. That's why digital art can recreate, for example, a neon light perfectly. In traditional art, this is impossible. Now, let's talk about your initial investment. In digital art, you have to start with a big budget, because you have to buy a good computer and a tablet for painting. But these items can have a longer lifespan and can be used for years, so the longevity of these items can make them well worth the purchase. And don't forget, your new computer can be used for more than just drawing. Starting in traditional, on the other hand, is a bit cheaper, but things like brushes, paints, and canvases will have to be replaced constantly. This means a lot of trips to the store. While traditional art can be cheap at first, it is more expensive in the long run than digital art. Let's talk about your work area. In traditional art, a good light source is key. We recommend natural light, but you can also use artificial light, which is a bit more difficult to work with. Illumination is important because it changes how we perceive colors. In digital, you will have to search for a good monitor. There are other technologies that we will explain in another video. Also, any good space for working in traditional art should have good ventilation. There should not be any kind of humidity. And remember that it would be perfect if spilling paint won't be a problem, so take that in consideration when picking your workspace. In digital art, the workspace can be more flexible, and wouldn't you guess it, an electrical socket is necessary for your computer. There should not be any direct light shining on the monitor to avoid glare and reflections. And above all, a good chair is important. We don't want to be in pain after an hour of working. Now let's talk about the types of artwork that both worlds offer us. In traditional art, most works tend to be unique, or they are presented in a small series like in screen printing or engraving. In contrast, in digital art, everything can be printed and you can reproduce it as much as you want. In conclusion, both worlds have their advantages and disadvantages, so we have to account for these when choosing between the two. However, take into account that the fundamentals of drawing are the same, no matter which medium you choose. Are you guys new to this? For those of you who are, we want to give you a couple of recommendations. If you are new to art in general, we recommend you start with traditional. New artists tend to pick up bad habits in digital art. Bad habits like tracing photographs. Abusing Ctrl-Z is also quite common and can be harmful to the learning process. If you have already started in digital, but you feel your foundations in drawing are lacking, try switching to traditional. It's for your own good. The paper and pencil are your best friends, so don't neglect them. Now let's get down to business. How do you start in digital art? First, there's the software. There's an intimidating number of drawing programs on the market. You guys are probably wondering, which one do I pick? On this occasion, we will talk about Photoshop, our favorite drawing app. If you guys are really new to Photoshop, you might be a bit scared or overwhelmed about the number of tools available to you. In this video, we will talk about the 4 main tools you will need to know in order to use Photoshop for painting. Number 1, the brush. This is the tool that allows you to draw, paint, and pretty much create awesome stuff. In Photoshop, you can modify the brushes in many ways to satisfy your needs. The program also allows you to create your own brushes, and in another video, we will go into further detail about this topic. These 2 windows allow you to modify your brushes in Photoshop. The most important modifiers of the brush are brush size, how big or small it is, the shape of the brush, the angle and roundness of the brush, and the hardness and softness around the edge of the brush. The spacing. To understand spacing, we have to understand that the brush is essentially a shape or figure that the program is replicating into a pattern to generate the stroke or line. So spacing is the distance between each figure in this pattern. The eraser. The opposite of the brush, the eraser removes pixels. In Photoshop, you can also alter the properties of the eraser the same way you can alter the brush. That is key since in art, it can be just as important to remove things as it is to add them. The lasso tool allows us to select parts of our image, but also we can use it to paint as well. You can make a selection and then press Ctrl Backspace to fill the selection with the desired color. We use this technique a lot in environments. We recommend you guys try it out with elements such as mountains, grass, trees, etc. And finally, the eyedropper tool. This tool allows you to pick up colors from the image to recycle the colors you have already used and keep your palette limited and balanced. Normally in digital art, we tend to use too many colors, so this tool is very important to avoid using colors that really don't match well with our palette. If you guys are studying an artwork or a photo in Photoshop, avoid using the eyedropper tool directly on the image you are studying. That won't help you at all in understanding light and color. With what we just showed you about Photoshop and digital painting, you guys can start drawing and painting to experiment with these tools and finding your own style. Now we invite you guys to try out some homework for this video. Try to copy this sketch that we have provided using the tools we have covered in this video. Careful, copying is not tracing. Use your eye to observe the sketch carefully and try to draw it on your own separate file. Think about proportions, angles, and anatomy while drawing it. This exercise will also help you adjust to your tablet, to help you understand the difference between drawing in traditional and digital, and how the pencil feels differently in both mediums. When you have finished, don't forget to upload your homework in the link we have provided below in the description of this video. Advanced students can also try to apply color to their drawings before submitting it to us. We will be on the lookout for all of your work, guys. In our next episode of How to Start in Digital Art, we'll give you a quick introduction to the interface of Photoshop and how to create an ideal workspace for digital art. We will also cover the color modes RGB and CMYK with a brief introduction to color. If you like this tutorial, don't forget to like the video so we can keep making all of this content for you guys. See you in the next episode, and thanks for watching.